right. Should be able to hear everything. Is the audio working? All right. Yes, it is. Fantastic. Message in the chat. Okay. Greetings, gamer guys and gals. Welcome to the stream, A Link to the Past. We are back. We just completed Dungeon 5, in fact, and I was unfortunately under the false impression that we could go beat Dungeon 6 right away after 5 due to the thought of like a bomb jump. I looked it up for hours a couple of days after I did the stream last week and discovered that if anybody knows how to bomb jump across that, it's very few people and it's very hard to do. And besides that, you don't need, but you kind of want the fire rod as well. So you want the hook shot and the fire rod before you beat Dungeon 6, which means that we are at a hard stop here. We have to do some backtracking. That's what I named the stream. That's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be going and beating dungeons that are far weaker than our current dungeons. The reason why I wanted to beat Dungeon 6 before Dungeons 2 and 3 was because I wanted to have the final buff to my bow and my sword so that I could get to the point where like I'm just nuking these dungeons. Now we're already just way beyond buff. You're not supposed to have the tempered master sword or the blue mail, which we have, in order to beat Dungeon 2 and 3. You're just not supposed to. You're not even supposed to get either one of these things, well, the tempered sword until after you beat Dungeon 4, and the blue mail until after you beat Dungeon 5. So we are way ahead of the game. We are way ahead of the game. These dungeons are about to be a literal cakewalk. Funny thing is, too, is that we only have 4 heart containers left in this game that we get from dungeons. So we only have 4 full hearts left. And, wrong button there. We're only missing 1 full heart container. I know where all 4 of the heart pieces are, just off of understanding of what I have done and what I have not done. So there's actually 1 heart container we can get right now, or 1 piece of a heart, in the Misery Mire, in the Misery Bog or Swamp or whatever they call it. I'm pretty sure it's Misery Swamp. So I'm thinking that the Swamp Palace is in like a bog or something. I don't know, because I originally, in fact, we're just gonna, no, we're not gonna teleport. We kind of want to go and fly over to where Dungeon 2 is. So 2 of our heart pieces cannot be obtained until we get up to Death Mountain, which we're not going to do until we're going for Turtle Rock, the final dungeon before the penultimate dungeon of the game. The final dungeon with a crystal in it, and with Zelda in it, in fact. And so there's 1 heart piece up there we could actually get right now. Once you have access to the Death Mountain, you can get up there in the Dark World and get that heart piece. But it's kind of like a long ways out. So we're just going to do that when we do happen to go for Turtle Rock, which that dungeon also has a point in it in which you have to teleport in order to get the final, the final heart piece inside that dungeon. So that dungeon actually has a heart piece and a full heart container in it. And then we have 1 right at number 1, right there on the map in the north at Death Mountain in the Dark World. You need the hook shot and the cape in order to get this. So even though the cape is not a necessary thing in order to beat the game, just like the Cane of Burna isn't, and several other things aren't, there are still things in this game that you will be locked out from getting if you miss those. So let's go see our items. So like for instance, I want to say, okay, so the red boomerang is optional. The magic powder is optional. The ice rod is optional. Bombos is optional. The flute is optional. The bug catching net is optional. all of the bottles are optional. The Cane of Burna and the Cape are optional. So those are all optional items in this game, which is actually really cool. What that means is that these items are not required in order to complete any dungeon in this game. So what that means is that you can kind of skip those things or use them to your own heart's desire. As you saw, the Cane of Burna does an exceptional job. And it's actually fantastic for all the bosses in this game up to the 4th boss in the Dark World. After the 4th boss and the 5th boss, so the 5th boss, 6th boss, 7th boss, so on and so forth, the Cane of Burna is almost not useful, and the reason why is because it does regular sword attacks when it swings. So not even Master Sword. So if there's an enemy that is immune, sort of like the Ice boss, the Ice Palace's boss, is immune to the regular sword. So the Cane of Burna doesn't help you there when it comes to damage, but it does still make you invincible, and you can still attack with it, unlike the Cape. The Cape does not allow you to attack. So there's a lot of cool things in this game that I really feel like are worthy of praise. No, it's way up. Yeah, it's way up. And you're gone. They really feel like they're worthy of praise. Like, this game did a lot of really interesting and really cool things that you don't really see in modern gaming anymore. You don't really see this need to make like superfluous items in games, and you don't really see like this need to make like optional areas in games. You kind of see like games, quote unquote, respecting people's time, whatever that means. I actually don't understand it personally, because the idea of a video game respecting your time, there is probably some people who honestly and truly believe that video games should respect your time, but I'm going to tell you something right now. If you are expecting your video games to respect your time, quotation marks, big air quotes right now, okay, you are in the wrong business. Video games waste your time. Doesn't matter what you're playing, doesn't matter how much you enjoy it. This is a hobby that fills time. So, like, you gotta take it as you can. If you're gonna play video games, which are totally fine, I love video games. I wouldn't even be bothering with this conversation if I didn't have like some kind of belief that yes, this is true, but video games are still worth playing. They're worth giving your time to in some cases, because the fact of the matter is that games are fun. And if we're being very real, I would rather play video games for 1,000 hours than spend 1,000 hours building a model plane. There are some people who feel totally different about that, but if you ever talk to somebody who says something along the lines of like, well, video games are a total and complete waste, but I just spent 1,000 hours building a model airplane. That is the literal definition of a hypocrite. I don't know anybody, like, in the modern sense of just anybody, who actually knows what the word hypocrite means, okay? Like, I really don't. That's a true hypocrite. Alright, so we are here in the Dark World's water dungeon. Zeake, it is I, Sahasrahla. Objects exist simultaneously in both worlds with similar shapes. If the form of a thing changes, it will affect the shape of its twin in the other world. Yeah, so basically this dungeon is... You can't even go through any part of this dungeon. I already knew this, but I just wanted to show it. You can't go through any part of this dungeon without first teleporting. So we actually have to go to the light world. And because this is Dungeon 2, it's kind of like a tutorial. It's kind of like telling you have to do this sometimes. Now, there are very few dungeons that take advantage of this. So it almost seems like a missed opportunity in my opinion. And, like, for instance, Turtle Rock is one of those dungeons where you can take advantage of this, but it's for a secret. It's so that you can get a heart piece. It's not for a mandatory thing. And... besides this dungeon, I can't really think. Let me think. No. Dark Palace doesn't need it. No, I think this and Turtle Rock are the only two dungeons that require that. So, and again, Turtle Rock doesn't require it because it's a heart piece that you need, or don't really need. It's optional. So this is kind of a weird tutorial in a way. It's something that, yes, you can do and take advantage of, but it's not something that's actually useful. Now, another thing that's interesting is that when you come to this dungeon, you do not have the blue mail. You do not have the tempered sword. This dungeon nickel and dimes you just like Dungeon 4. They're probably, in my opinion, the two worst offenders, I should say. Offenders is a better word for this. They're the two worst offenders of it, in my opinion. So, both this dungeon and Dungeon 4, they constantly hit you for damage, for really stupid things. Like, you'll just constantly be taking damage because there's constantly things trying to smack you. Like, for instance, you saw that little bit of water out there that was basically an enemy. And we'll see him again. Yeah, so that little appearing water thing, and there's constantly, like, fireballs being shot at you. It's really and truly annoying. I actually firmly love going to Dungeon 4 and then 5 first, because Dungeon 5 doesn't do this. And then you see, like... Alright, we're gonna have to... Yeah, good. Very good. Okay, so one thing, too, here about this dungeon, even though I just, like, ran into, like, stuff... You kind of don't want to use the sword all the time because, as you can see, like this golden thing here, it shoots whenever your sword is out. If you have the fire shield, which I do, you can kind of just avoid that damage, but it's still like you're going to be taking the damage, you know, you're going to be taking the hits. I love the design of this dungeon, though, and the reason why I love it so much is because... Like, it utilizes every room, even though some rooms look like they're totally pointless. Like, for instance, that room. I was just down there. Totally pointless. Well, what is the point of that room, aside from having the key? Well, it appears that way. And, yes, I'll grant you that it is basically useless besides that, but it's like, little intriguing things. It's the only dungeon that really does this with, like, the keys and stuff. And then, for instance, you had to get that key in order to progress to this room before you filled it up with water. So it's not possible that you can soft lock yourself there, which is pretty cool. Being that it's the second dungeon in the Dark World, you actually get the hook shot in this dungeon. Spoiler, very sorry for that. But it's cool that you get it this early, technically, if you're playing this game naturally. But it's cool that you get it this early because the hookshot is an incredibly useful item. It's not as useful as some items in some ways, I will grant that. Like, I would honestly rather have the boomerang in some instances. But it's still very useful as a weapon. It still stuns things just like the boomerang. And I believe it is more powerful than the boomerang. Maybe at least the blue one. I don't know about the red one, but it has unique properties, so you can't just count it out for, you know, being similar in some ways. So, like, this room has a bunch of pots in it, and the whole idea behind the pots is you want to use them to attack the enemies rather than your sword. So yeah, it kind of seems silly in a way because, like, it's preventing you from using your sword in this, but it's clever. That's the reason why I like it. It's clever. It's like you could come into this room and you could struggle by trying to fight them with your sword, or you could come in this room and instead of struggling at all, you just annihilate everything with the pot. And I'm pretty sure that the pots do, like, tempered sword damage, which is stupid. Like, really, really stupid. Some people might say that that's, like, an oversight. I think it's just, like, a fun design quirk. Yeah, as you can see, like, I have blue mail, but I've already taken, what, 6-7 hearts of damage in this? I've recovered a few, but I've already taken, like, 6-7 hearts of damage in this dungeon. because you really and truly do get nickel and dimed here. And as it's kind of obvious, this is the water dungeon of this game. Every Zelda has one, and if we were being honest, which I like saying, I really do, and I'm never going to stop saying because I like being honest, this is the best water dungeon design in the entire series, in my opinion. Like, just the best. It's not at all tedious. It's not at all annoying. Some water dungeons in the series are just super duper tedious. Super duper, I want nothing to do with you. Like, that's how they make me feel. Alright, we got you. Another heart. We need that. Alright. Yeah, these water sprite things, whatever the heck they happen to be, are a really odd enemy because they're not really an enemy, but they are at the same time. Oh, did I screw that up? I did. Oh, we gotta leave the room and come back in. Gamerman, you know better than that. You know better than that. I've probably done this dungeon a billion jillion times. Yeah, but it's pretty darn chill in here, and the reason why it's so chill is because, again, we're fighting this dungeon far and away before you're supposed to. Or far and away later than you're supposed to. I'm speaking incorrectly here. You are absolutely not supposed to be here this late in the game. That's another thing I wanted to mention here, is that because we're being constantly nickel and dimed in this dungeon, you kind of don't really have access to the sword beams. So if you like the sword beams, which you know I do, I love the sword beams in this. They're not as useful as like the bow, because the bow is always usable. You don't have to be at full health in order to shoot an arrow, which would be super duper retarded. But it's, I don't know, the sword beams have their uses that I think are better than like the bow and arrow, because the bow and arrow you have to be kind of precise with it, whereas the sword beams, nope, no precision needed. And oh, that's a failure. Alright, do we have one of those nearby? I want to say we do, but where at? Yeah, so this is what I was supposed to do. Yeah, I think it's actually up here, right? Oh no. That's not going to work. What do I do here? I have forgotten. Well, maybe it's up where we were actually at. Let me go see. Because I have unfortunately forgotten. Yeah, we don't have to climb down the stairs. I do like the shortcuts. You know, like for instance right here, we don't have to climb down the stairs, we could just jump off. Man. There has to be one up here. There is not one up here. So, where do we go then? We do have the map, so I'm guessing we just go back. Where do we go? Huh. That is awfully confusing. I'm over here saying that this dungeon's... It's still going to be a cakewalk once I figure it out. But, like, I'm over here saying it's a cakewalk, and I'm over here confused as all get out. But, you know, we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out well. Oh, okay. Yes, that's it. That's it. Okay, so we were supposed to come back here. you can go ahead and get caught there, you little spiky ball thing, you. Whatever in the heck you happen to be. Yeah, so I recently was actually watching a Link to the a Link Between Worlds, not A Link to the Past, and A Link Between Worlds walkthrough with no commentary, and it was reminding me of why I like that game so much, because it is one of my 3 favorite Zeldas. I think it's the weakest of my 3 favorite. I would still say, and sometimes my opinion changes about this. It's sort of like my opinion about my favorite Fire Emblem games, but I would. Sometimes I intermingle whether A Link to the Past is number 2 or number 3, and A Link Between Worlds is number 2 and number 3. Breath of the Wild is just a no-brainer number 1. Maybe one of these days I'll play that game too, but if I could ever get a hold of a capture card for my 3DS, I would love, absolutely love to play that game on here, and just to show... And we got the big key, awesome. Just to show, like, how grandiose it is. Because basically what they do is they take this game and reimagine it. It's not a remake. It's not a remaster. It's a reimagining. And I love when games do that. I would rather have that any day than a straight remaster. Like, I still would like a remaster of A Link Between... or A Link to the Past. I would. I think anybody who loves this game would, because we need it. This game, it's not like this game is totally outdated, but it's pretty obvious that, you know, it would be really cool that if we had like a graphical upgrade. Yep, so you want to find your way over yonder. Yeah, we've taken a lot of damage here. Thank you for the singular heart that I just lost. Yeah, so most of the enemies here are actually doing like 2 hearts of damage, which is pretty abysmal if you think about it. Alright, we use that key there. Are we missing any place? We are, aren't we? We are. Right down here, actually. I haven't gone here? What? But why, though? Alright, so let's go ahead and figure out... I'm pretty sure this is an optional part of the dungeon, that's why. Yeah, this is totally optional. That's why. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's totally optional. You don't need the compass. What are you kidding? So I actually could have gone here pretty early and then found out like where the chests are, but I've pretty much gotten like all the chests in this dungeon. This dungeon's not hard. It's not even confusing with its layout. It's just kind of big. So if you're not paying attention, you're gonna get like lost necessarily. Alright, so of course we've got a statue over here and a button that won't keep itself down. We could actually use the cane of wait, we don't have the cane of Samaria yet. I am again the big dumb. Alright, so yeah, this as a weapon it doesn't kill anything. Well, it does kill the, like, these enemies. But it doesn't kill the skeletons. But what it does is stun them. And then you do have some enemies that it does kill, like, for instance, those jellyfish-looking things. It does kill some light, like, weak enemies. But it's not... Yeah, we need to actually go a different way for this. I could not... For the life of me, the last time I played this game, for the life of me, figure out how I was supposed to get down there, and it's really stupid simple. For some reason, I was missing the fact that there was a door here. Let's go here first. Alright, so this is actually not where we want to go first. Yeah, so it kills light enemies. We do have like 2 blue potions, and we do have 2 fairies. So I've kind of been playing this kind of haphazardly. If I didn't have a fairy or any blue potions, I probably would be playing a lot safer. Alright, so let's lift you up yonder. Put you back over here. Find our way going downstairs. Yeah, it also grabs items just like the boomerang. The reason why it's not as good as the boomerang in some ways is because it just goes straight in a singular direction, which not really that great concerning some uses of it. All right, so we do have that chest room. I kind of want to grab that before we leave. Where the heck was that? Okay, it was the other door. Yeah, I want to grab that because it's totally optional, and we don't actually need it. I'm pretty sure it just has stuff like money, which, if you couldn't tell by now, we do not need. Like, we just do not need money in this game. But I'm still going to grab it because why not? Yeah. It's just money. Like, there's literally games in the dark world that you can go and do that are pretty much guaranteed to give you, like, good drops, good money. Okay, so this is where that is. Okay, so we could go either way. All right. I'll know that for next time. Like the chess game. Oh my gosh. If you want money in once you get to the dark world, you are fully capable of accessing basically the best ways to get money. The chess game in the dark world is, bar none, the best way. Alright, this is just, you know, pretty sure like a fill up. Yep. Give you some stuff. Nothing like super useful. I actually would have preferred hearts from those. Then again, like, I'm kind of playing conservatively with my weapons and items. And then here we go. I literally just guessed which one that was. I knew it was one of the last ones, but... Yep, so we have a hidden doorway. If you look at the map, you're going to kind of figure it out, in my opinion, so it's really not all that hidden. But I still like the fact that the game is doing its best to... Okay, we can't KO these guys from right here. The game is still doing its best to kind of like trip us up in a way. I like it when the game is clever. I like it when there's like clever design and stuff like that. Alright, cool. That's another like fill up right there. Totally not needed for our case. And then we're up to here. Now I am under the impression that you don't need the hook shot in order to beat this boss. I think you can still attack these, but I'm not actually sure. And as you can see, because we have the tempered sword and not just the regular master sword, we one-shot this boss's whatever in the heck these are, like little puffs or whatever. And then we're going to take the Cane of Burna. Yeah, this guy is also apparently immune to the Master Sword. Or, not the Master Sword, the Cane of Burna. I think it just depends. I think different bosses have like a different trigger on like what they're immune to. Some bosses are like immune to the bow. So it just totally depends. But like, look at that. Because I could swap to the Cane of Burna there, because I didn't necessarily need to have the hook shot out after you kill his first form, you kind of can trivialize the game. You really kind of can. And that's not, in my opinion, a bad thing, because the Cane of Burna is a totally optional item. Like, you need the cape in order to get the Cane of Burna. You're going out of your way to get an optional item to get another optional item. Very cool. And not every boss lets you do this, but there are some cheesy bosses we're coming up to in the future that do. Zeake, because of you, I can escape from the clutches of the evil monsters. Thank you. The Triforce will grant the wishes of whoever touches it, as long as that person lives. That is why it was hidden in the Golden Land. Only a select few knew of its location. But at some point, that knowledge was lost. The person who rediscovered the Golden Land was Ganondorf, the evil thief. Luckily, he couldn't figure out how to return to the Light World. Well, remember that you have magical powers, which only the hero can make the most of. There are some other magical warping points, like the one you saw on Death Mountain. By using them, you can go between the two worlds and find the evils hidden in the Dark World. You are the only one who can destroy Ganondorf, the thief. No, Ganon, the evil king of darkness. Do you understand? Of course we do. May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce. And we are finito with that. All right, one moment. Uh-oh. Did he just do what I think he just did? He took my shield. And I don't get it back. Oh my gosh. I wish I had paused it. Alright, so, oh my gosh, now we have to go and get... yeah, this episode is rightly called Backtracking for a reason. Now we have to go and get our shield back, which is actually not that big of a deal because we have tons of money, but it is a big deal in the sense that it's waste. I hate those enemies. Like, what in the world is the reason for that enemy to exist? In a way, you know what, I have to take that back a little bit. It's... I can understand why they exist, because they're to punish you, because you are going to be quite powerful at this point in this game. Alright, so... if I'm not mistaken, it's either Kakariko or the Lumberjack house that... well, actually, it's the Village of Outcasts in the Dark World. Where the shield can be purchased for a whopping 500 rupees, which is a waste. I think, actually, you know what? I think I can... I think what I can do is just buy the blue shield and throw it back in the Waterfall of Wishing, which is probably what I'm gonna do, because the blue shield is a lot cheaper. We don't really need money, but being honest, like... I still want to have money for, like, blue potions. Alright, so yeah, we're gonna... let's go see if we can do this. So, this is a bit of a learning experience here. We're going to be figuring some stuff out together. Yeah, I kind of figured that it was the side of the house that I had to teleport to. Alright, so we're going to go up here. We're going to go to the Waterfall of Wishing. Oh my gosh, that was totally pointless. I wonder if I almost want to save the game and find out after I get the final shield upgrade, because there is one more. Oh, did we just do a no-no? We did. We did. I wonder if the final shield upgrade can be stolen from you, because if it can, that's really like a design flaw, because the final shield upgrade cannot be replaced. You cannot buy the final shield upgrade. That would be really gross. All right, we have to go back to the witch's hut. I think this is really funny. I'm not trying to be all realistic about these games, but the witch's hut is really funny in my opinion, because they show her as this like brewing potion lady, and she's this like average typical fairy tale witch, but the reality is that like an actual witch is just a deceiver of multitudes. That's literally what a witch does. So a witch deceives great swaths of people in believing lies. That's literally what a witch does. A witch isn't a magical potion brewer or an enchantress or anything like that. That's not what a witch is concerning like actual factual witches. Which, I mean, some people might argue about that, but it doesn't matter. That's the literal understanding of a witch concerning concerning English vernacular and the true definition. All right, so let's see what she does here. Let's see if this happens, because that would be actually pretty darn cool. Yes, I did drop this. Like an honest person. Okay, cool. Your shield is improved. So we got our shield back. That was quite the waste of time, in my opinion. But, at least we were able to get it back without spending 500 rupees. So, as a bit of, I guess you could almost call that a tutorial of sorts. If you have your shield stolen by those avaricious fiends, you can just go ahead and say, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to buy the regular old shield and get it re-upgraded. So that's pretty cool that I found that out. Though, I mean, how many people are going to use that information is the question. Alright, so our next dungeon is in the Forest of Darkness, or, well, actually, I think it's called Skull Woods in this game. We're at the right place. I don't know why I just did that. I was trying to shoot the dude with a boomerang. Yeah, so we've made pretty good progress so far. We're going to go ahead and fly through here. Skull Woods is another interesting dungeon. I think there's a lot of really cool dungeons in this game, and they all kind of fall through the same like tropes of dungeon making, but then there are some dungeons in this game that fall through none of the tropes. Like just literally none of the tropes. This is one of those dungeons. There is nothing like it in this game. Literally nothing like it. And if I could cut some grass here, it'd be very nice. Yeah, you're not doing that again, buckaroo. What is the item that kills these dudes? I know there's an item that kills them like pretty much instantaneously. Alright, that took 3 shots, a little bit more than I would hope for. The bow and arrow took, a little bit more than I would hope for too. Alright, so there's a way to totally trivialize this dungeon as well, because as you can see, there's a bunch of like holes in the ground and stuff. Each and every single hole in the ground and each and every single open-mouthed skull is an entrance to this dungeon. So there are a lot of ways to get inside this dungeon. And I 100% love that. Just 100%. am enthralled with the fact that this dungeon is the way it is. It's very cool. It's very unique, in my opinion. Alright, so we're gonna open you. Alright, nope. We have to first walk on here. And then we open that lever and open a billion or a humongous old wall there. So some people do hate this dungeon though because it has a very notorious enemy in it, and that is the Wallmaster. The Wallmaster is an enemy that basically will is an enemy that will pick you up and then take you back to the entrance that you entered into the dungeon from, which is annoying, but it is something you can deal with. Where the Wallmaster is super duper annoying is actually in the final dungeon in the game. One moment. Alright, so now we can go this way, I think is where we want to go. That's the big chest of the dungeon. Like, we already found it. And I already found the way to get to it, which is pretty darn intriguing that the way that this dungeon works, because it's so open-ended, you can just get to pretty much anything as whenever you want. Like, you can even, like, once you get the big key, which you can get it very soon, I could actually skip to it right now. I can open that chest and then immediately go for the boss. Like, just immediately. You don't have to mess around or anything, and I love that about this dungeon. A lot of optional stuff you can get. You got the map, you can use it to see your current position, and the rest of the dungeon. Yeah, so the dungeon is... There's, like, I want to say something around 8 to 10 entrances to this dungeon, which is pretty darn insane, considering. Yeah, we don't have any keys. Where do we get a key? I think we just have to leave, don't we? Alright, so... Yeah. Let's drop down here. Those bumpers are annoying. As are those fire rods. I think? No, those don't KO. The pots don't KO. So I'm pretty sure the pots do the same damage as the tempered sword. Pretty sure. Alright, we got the compass. You can pinpoint the lair of the dungeon's evil master. Let's see, where can we go from here? Oh, we can go down and right. I kind of want to check that first. Okay, so this is not where we wanted to go there. Or maybe it is. There's the Wall Master. He will pick you up and take you back to the beginning of where you entered the dungeon. The Tempered Sword allows you to instantly KO him. These guys are the Gyptos here. Very annoying enemies. There's actually only 2 weapons in the game that can instantly KO them. And might be 3. I don't know if they're affected by arrows. So the arrow upgrade might do it too, but you can't have the arrow upgrade before you go to this dungeon, I don't think. Alright, so we got a door key. Where do we go now? So what the game is wanting us to do is to leave and then drop back down in that secret little spot back here so we can get the master item, or the dungeon item, which is cool because we're going to have the dungeon item instantaneously, basically. We'll gladly accept that. Okay, we do need to press these just once. You don't want to press it a second time because I think those holes go back there. And oh. Oh, that was very anticlimactic. I did not get the Oh, you know what? We have to go back. We have to go back. Yeah, I did not get the big key. Isn't that anticlimactic? Alright, so... Over here again? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's over here. Yeah, so this dungeon can be kind of confusing if you let it. But I pretty much have a good lay of the land here. Alright. I did not mean to do that. So yeah, we want to go up. We want to check what that has to offer us, and I did not mean to do that either. Okay. Yeah, those are not affected. Okay, the small key. The Gyptos are not affected by the hook shot, which is interesting and weird at the same time. Bombos is really good for room clearing with the Gyptos in it, because Bombos is one of the weapons that insta-kills them. I would dare say that if you're like in a room full of them, it is more cost-effective to use Bombos than it is to use the dungeon item, which also KOs them instantaneously. Alright, so we do have to find a separate entrance to the dungeon, because this is not it. This is not where we need to be in order to get the big key. Alright, it's not up here either, so we're gonna have to go around. I'm pretty sure it's this little entrance over here. And as you can see, we're taking a lot of damage from this too. That's partially due to the fact that even though this dungeon doesn't really nickel and dime you as much as Dungeon 2 and Dungeon 4, the enemies here do a lot more damage. The Gyptos, I think, do like 2 hearts of damage, and I have the blue mail. I take half damage. So that means they would do normally like 4 hearts of damage, which is pretty insane. So you kind of want to be mindful of like your hearts and what's going on here, you know. Alright, we're going to go ahead and grab this. Huh. I don't know how we go into that door. Doesn't matter right now because we have other things we can do. Like, for instance, this. Yeah, the Wall Master is kind of annoying with this because you have to move the statue while the Wall Master is being annoying. And here we go. We'll just go ahead and bombos this room. Yep, it seems a little bit cheap that I've used this a lot, and I won't lie, it is because bombos is amazing. It's totally an optional. Okay, we got the big key, so now we know what to do. It's totally an optional item in this game, which is cool. But that's the cool thing about the optional items in this game is some of them are just super duper strong. And what that allows you to do is to trivialize the game in some ways. Alright, so this, anytime you enter this part of the dungeon, this pot will always give you a green full magic heal. Which is great, because if you don't have half magic, like I do, you could find yourself in a situation where you need to always know where those are. There are other parts in this world, and there are other places that you can easily go to in order to get a full magic heal. Like, for instance, there's a tree. Excuse you, mister. There's a tree right before you enter into the Lost Woods, so the light world, where if you bonk into it, you will always get a full heal from it. Alright, so let's press that. And let's go ahead and get our wonderful dungeon item, shall we? You found the fire rod. This rod commands the red fire, but watch your magic meter. Well, we don't really have to watch it so much because you have 16 shots of the fire rod on a full magic meter with half magic, which is pretty darn fantastic. Alright, so where do we have to go from here? Alright, so there's one other room that we can grab right now, and then we can go... Do we have a key? Okay, we don't have a key, so you know what that means? We're probably just going to ignore that room. Pretty sure it's just money. Oh, excuse you. The fire rod is still an awesome weapon. Again, if you have a room full of enemies that are affected by the fire rod, it's still actually better to use bombos, because bombos takes up 2 fire rod shots. So if you're gonna kill more than 2 enemies, it's actually not effective to use bombos. Alright, we need to escape from here. Okay, so it's the fire rod that KOs those guys instantaneously. That's pretty good to know. Not something I remembered, that's for sure. Oh, we just got another heart, and then it was immediately taken from us. All right, so where are there some fairies near here? Because I would love to not have this beeping. Again, the fire rod is really cool. Man. Where can we go? I don't think there's a potion shop in this village. Or is there? Is it in here? It might actually be in here. Alright, a red potion. I don't really want that, though. I guess we'll just use a fairy for now. I seriously don't want to spend money on that red potion. It's, in my opinion, like, pretty much worthless. Yes, it heals your health, but... Oh, I don't know. It does heal your health, at least. I'm not going to get it, because why bother, but... We are going to go back into the dungeon and fight ourselves the boss. Because we're pretty darn close to it. Once you get the fire rod, you can... once you get the big key, you can skip pretty much all the dungeon, get the fire rod instantaneously, and then go fight the boss. You do need the fire rod in order to get to the boss, though. It's a form of progression that is totally locked behind you having that, so... Just as a fair warning, don't like skip to the boss's area and then find out, oh wait, we can't actually go there yet. Alright. Yeah, it's not here, is it? We need to go around again. I think we're on the right track, but we shall have to wait and see, shall we? Huh. How do we get here? I don't think there's a way to teleport there. I am losing my mind here. Maybe there's a way to get there from inside the forest. Yeah, I'm starting to think there is. Like inside Light World Forest. Huh. I forget what this house is for. Okay, so it's just another like simple shop. There is a shop that sells the fire shield and stuff like that for 500 wonderful rupees, which is quite a lot if we're being for real here. Like quite a lot. I would not. I mean, you do have like the ability to just expend money however you want in this game, but I would still say like that's kind of a waste. I don't know what the heck these enemies are supposed to be. Alright, so there is a way, there has to be a way to get there. I'm pretty sure in one of like the dungeon areas, you can sort of like... I did not know that there were bees in the Dark World. Very intriguing. Okay, so we're just kind of going in circles here. Is there a way to fall down over here? I don't think there is. Maybe down here? Maybe I can teleport. Let's find out. No, I'm starting to think that, I'm going the wrong way. That it is supposed to be in... I'm gonna just go in the dungeon, check the map, and see where, like, I can go from there, because this is kind of blowing my mind a little bit right now. So let's find a dungeon entrance. Which actually, I think our closest one, we might as well leave the forest and come back in through the other way. So Skull Woods is feeling more like Lost Woods than Lost Woods feels like Lost Woods. And no, I've not forgotten that I have Pegasus boots, but I kind of like, when I'm dungeon exploring and stuff like that, I kind of like being more deliberate. Yeah, I don't think so, but I cannot believe you can't get your shield back from them. That's pretty wild to me. Like, absolutely wild. Alright, so where do we go? Perhaps that room? Okay, that's an entrance. Huh. So the fall entrances are the white dots, whereas the actual walking in entrances are the like little cross-like looking things. So there's 3 crosses. There's technically 4, but we haven't gotten to it yet. And then there's 4 drops. So yeah, I was right that there's 8. There's 8 actual entrances to this dungeon. Which is a lot. Like, that's actually a lot. Alright, so... oh, yep, you can't use your items while you're... while you are in the doorway, which is kind of strange. Would like a full magic heal. Yeah, I don't even think that the best sword in the game one-shots the Gibdos, which is wild in a sense, because the Gibdos, it just means that the Gibdos are like one of the strongest enemies in this game concerning like defensive power, because they're not like the strongest attack-wise, that's for sure, because there's still enemies that right now do 3 hearts of damage to me, which means they would do 6 hearts of damage to base Link, which is pretty darn crazy. Okay, that's a failure on my part. At 4 hits, that's something. Alright, we're gonna go left and walk out this way. Come on, man. Hit them. For real. Well, it's gotta be this way. Like, it just has to be. I don't know exactly where else I'm supposed to go. Unless I'm missing something pretty, like, simple. Alright. Bombo says goodbye, hasta la vista. I was done dealing with him. Don't actually know how that KO'd him there, but you know what? We're not going to complain. Oh, I see, I see. We don't have a key for that, which is making me wonder, like, if we get the final key. Yeah, I was right. So it is through the dungeon itself. Okay, you need the fire rod. And then that opens up the final part of the dungeon. No, you cannot do that with Bombos or the Lantern, which, you know, some people would probably say that's kind of wild, but that's just how it is. We do have to go down first. This is kind of a bit of a maze underneath, but if you know, like, where to go, you shouldn't really have a problem. Alright, I think I got it all right there. I wonder where that final key is. Alright. I know this is going to give a key, but it's not like I'm going to go back into... I'm obviously just not going to go back to a different part of the dungeon to waste that key on, because you need the key in order to get to the boss. So, just not likely, is it? We're gonna go ahead and use a blue potion here. Might seem like a bit of a waste, but again, like, I would rather have blue potions on you, because then you can heal either magic or health, rather than just health, which is my serious problem with, thanks for the hit. What is going on here? There we go. Just having the ability to heal either with the same bottle is great, because that means that you don't really have to worry about whether or not you have the right items, or the right bottle on you, or the right potion, or wasting, like, another potion or another bottle on, like, a potion that you could just... you could be full on, you know? You could be full on both. So that's why I kind of like... I don't know, I think that either having the green potion or the red are pointless. Oh, and he grabbed me. Are you kidding? And I fell. I mean, at least we're getting some kind of hearts, but it's not very much. This is probably not hitting the Wallmaster, which doesn't really matter. I'm just wanting to get these guys out of my way. Alright. And let's grab this. Alright, so the thought here is what you want to do that's how you open up that door. You have to activate all of those lantern, torch things, whatever they're called, and obviously they put one out of your way so that you can't just use the lamp. And then here we go. Our secret room lies ahead. Oh my. Alright, stop with your nonsense. Just have to KO that one enemy to get the door key for this room. It gives you arrows, but I'm not exactly sure why. And then we fall down here and we fall to Mothra. So the best way to fight Mothra is to use the fire rod. However, because we have the tempered sword, we do, I think, as much damage as the fire rod at this time. So that's... You don't want to use the Cane of Burna in that fight, because it's just better. I mean, you can, because then it prevents you from, like, being hit constantly by the spikes and stuff coming at you, but still, it's not truly that hard of a fight. Zeake, because of you, I can escape from the clutches of the evil monsters. Thank you. Do you know the prophecy of the Great Cataclysm? Yes, I do. I have read it in the Bible. Oh, wait. You're talking about a different cataclysm. This is the way I heard it. If a person who has an evil heart gets the Triforce, a hero is destined to appear, and he alone must face the person who began the Great Cataclysm. If the evil one destroys the hero, nothing can save the world from his wicked reign. Only a person of the Knights of Hyrule who protected the royalty of Hylia can become the hero. You are of their bloodline, aren't you? Then you must rescue Zelda without fail. You understand? Of course we do. May the way of the hero lead to the Triforce. Fantastic. Thank you. Fancy. 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 Quite fancy, in fact. Let's, Okay, we do need some potions. Now, at this point of the game, this stage of the game, I should say, I am in the mind to no longer have more than one fairy on me, and I'm going to have 2 blue potions. So we're actually going to go and do just that. We're going to grab 2 blue potions. So the fairy's just like a safekeeping thing. But the blue potions are because of magic meter and health, because most of the boss fights from this point forward are either going to be Cane of Burna cheese or are going to require magical items, and you kind of want to have the capacity to take care of that. And some of the dungeons are actually going to probably require me to use one of the blue potions before I even get to the boss, because that's just the reality of this game sometimes. Now, alright, so I want to say, we have a couple of things we can do. Let's see, is it number 1? Man. I want to say it's number 1 we have to go to. It might not be. No, I don't think it's actually well, let's find out. So first and foremost, actually we're gonna get out the wonderful bow and arrows. We're going to find ourselves going back to the Dark World, probably through the exact same way we just went through. And yeah, so what I was saying about always being able to find I think I might have showed this in a previous stream, but you can always find one of those full magics. It's just one, so you have to come back through this area each and every time, but if you're low on magic, you're about to go to the Dark World, like, why not grab it? Why not, you know? It's not going to hurt you. Alright, so we're going to go back through Skull Woods for a moment here. We're not going through the dungeon, which I think the dungeon's also called Skull Woods or something of that nature. Don't know for sure, but... is it this way? No. I think we can still get there from here, but... no, this is not the way I was thinking. Alright, do we get up here from... no. That's not it. So yeah, we're going to be getting our last 2 heart pieces that we can for the time being. Yeah, like those birds there, they do a beautiful whopping... well, I mean, not really beautiful. Okay, so that was okay. Those do 3 hearts of damage with blue mail. So that's kind of insane, in my opinion. That means that they still do a heart and a half of damage with the final upgrade, which is a lot because it's just, I mean, that means they're doing 6 hearts of damage base. Alright, so we're gonna go right here. This right here is the reason why you need the cape. The cape allows you to dash through things. Just like completely go through stuff. Might be using this. Actually, we're definitely gonna be using this. And we got a piece of the heart. So it's pretty simple. You just need the hook shot and the cape. So it was not something I could have gotten any time sooner than this because, well, I could have got it before Dungeon 3, but it doesn't matter because we're not going to get an actual heart piece or like full heart container off of that. So we're pretty well set up for this upcoming like dungeon now that we can actually complete it. And Misery Mire is one of the dungeons that people kind of hate the most. I can kind of see why, but actually the dungeon that boils my blood the most in this game is a pretty good tie between Turtle Rock and then Ganon's Tower. And the reason being is because both of them are kind of like absurd with their design. I think it's here. No, I was quite wrong. Is it up further? It might be up further. Yeah, Turtle Rock just... I have a feeling that whenever we get around to streaming Turtle Rock, it's going to be one of those things where it's like... Howdy do, welcome to the stream, Quandary. So like Turtle Rock is one of those dungeons that actually throws me for a loop every time, and I have a feeling that once I stream it, it's going to throw me for a loop. That's just the way that dungeon is. Alright, you found a piece of heart. We have only 2 heart pieces left, and they are not obtainable right now through like quick means. Like, yes, we could get the one. We could actually get the one on top of Death Mountain right now, but it kind of really truly doesn't matter. You cannot, absolutely cannot, you cannot get the final heart piece until you get into Turtle Rock. Now, you can do Turtle Rock right now. Like, you can do Turtle Rock right now. Wait, no. I'm lying to you. Nope, you definitely need the dungeon item from Dungeon 6, Misery Mire. So, to open this up, we use some ether. We recently went into a cave where the man told us that if we can move the weather with more power than the monsters have, we can get to the point where we can open up the dungeon and whatever. Which is interesting and cool. There's only 2 dungeons in the game that require a medallion. One requires ether and the other requires quake in order to open up the dungeon. So it's a cool use of the medallions, and I'm glad that they have like a use, but I'm also kind of not glad in a way because it means that these dungeons, or these items, these medallions, are absolutely required. And the funny thing about that is Quake is kind of hidden. Like, you have to go find it. There's nothing in the game that would give you any inclination that you're going to get it. Ether is pretty easy to come by because it's right up there with Tower of Hera. You're probably going to explore Death Mountain and see that, like, whatever it is, tablet for it, and then you're going to want to check that out. You might not know what it is. You might not even know that you have to get the Book of Medora to read it, but once you press any button, like any interact button on that tablet, it's going to read off the same symbols that the Desert Palace will read off to you. So you're obviously like, okay, I'm going to use the Book of Medora for that. And then Bombos. Bombos is the hardest one to find and come by, but none of them are really hard. It's just that, you know, I kind of wish that all three of them were optional because they are so powerful. You haven't seen me use Quake or Ether very much in this run. You've seen me use a lot of Bombos. Well, that's because Ether is more utility based and Quake stuns things and freezes things. Quake doesn't hardly kill anything. Ether freezes some stuff and it kills some things, but for the most part, Bombos is the strongest, which is probably the reason why it's not required. So you have to go out of your way to find it, and then you get rewarded for finding it because it is the best medallion in the game. And that's pretty much just like the reality of that is like, yeah, we can have these overpowered medallions in a way. Like Ether has some other, again, like it's utilitarian. There's a couple of parts in some of the dungeon, or I think in Dungeon 6, 7, and Ganon's Tower. I think it might not include Dungeon 6, I'm not sure. But where basically you can reveal hidden ground. And we're gonna see that at some point. There's ways to avoid that, like with the fire rod and the lamp, lighting the lamp posts. But basically, Ether can let you reveal the ground for a split second if you are nowhere near those fiery pedestals or whatever. So that's cool. We only have one more dungeon item in the game to acquire. Technically, there's still 3 more, but 2 of them are just upgrades to things we already have. I'll let you sit back and guess what in the world those could be. Could they be the sword upgrade, the bow upgrade, the shield, the tunic upgrade? I mean, it could be any one of those, but, you know, you could totally figure that out for yourself if you want. I mean, you could look it up too, but if you're anything like me, you probably won't, because the thing is that I like surprises to some degree. Hookshot and Fire Rod are obtained. Ice Rod is also optional. However, one of the bosses is infinitely easier to KO with the Ice Rod if you have it. You don't need it, from what I recall. You might. I don't know, because I've never gone without the Ice Rod. I always thought it was cool, and I used to spam it a lot. So, like, I would use it as basically a pseudo Fire Rod until I got the Fire Rod, even though they don't affect the same enemies. It's sort of like how Bombos kills everything, but Ether freezes stuff. Ether freezes things and kills some enemies, but it usually doesn't KO most enemies. Bombos KOs most enemies. There's almost no enemies in this game that are not affected by it, except for, you know, barring some bosses, or most bosses, I should say. The Fire Rod is just the same. It is effective on most enemies, and the enemies that it is effective on, it either KOs them or does severe incredible damage, especially to bosses. So the Fire Rod is kind of like a straight upgrade, which is funny because we do have one more dungeon item, and it's supposed to be like the counterpart to the Cane of Burna. And we're getting it in Dungeon 6, so here. And being honest, it is nowhere near half as useful as the Cane of Burna. Like, nowhere near. So the Ice Rod is kind of optional, at least from what I recall. It might not be fully optional because you might actually need it for one of the bosses in the later part of the game. I always use it. I never go without it, so I don't know for a fact. But the Fire Rod is totally not optional. And then, like, the Cane of Burna is totally optional, but it's better than the cane that we're about to be getting in this dungeon. And the cane that we're getting in this dungeon is so niche, and it does have use. It is still cool, but it's so niche compared to the Cane of Burna. Like, I could use the Cane of Burna anywhere. To fight regular enemies, to fight bosses, to just deny damage. I mean, it's incredible. But the other cane is like, no thank you, you know? Basically, like, you need it to complete a dungeon. In fact, I think you need it for the 2 dungeons. Well, you need it for all 3 dungeons, in fact, from this point forward, 6, 7, and Ganon's Tower. but you don't need it for like combat. It doesn't have any cool like combat features. It's not super strong or anything like that. So it's kind of pretty wild in my opinion. Pretty wild. So it's basically the same kind of functionality of the medallions. The optional one is the best. But it's just weird because like the ice rod is potentially optional, but it's so much weaker than the fire rod, which is not optional. So it's weird. It's interesting game design. I actually love it. It's sort of like how, you know, the red boomerang, totally optional, but it is 100% better than the blue boomerang. I would dare say in some senses it's even better than the hook shot when it comes to stunning and grabbing things, and because you can angle it. Like for instance, I can not only throw it like, yeah, I can throw it on the angles, not just straight in a direction. The hook shot can only go straight in a direction. So there's interesting niches, stuff like that, whatever, what have you. But all that being said, I think this is perfectly the time for us to go ahead and end this stream, because the reality is that Misery Mire is probably going to be much longer to complete than both Dungeon 2 and Dungeon 3 combined. Which means that it needs to go on its own stream, because we're already kind of running long, hour and a half. And I kind of want my streams to be like between an hour and 2 hours. I think that's a good mark. I think it's a good like spot. So with all that being said, I want to thank you for joining me today as we savored the backtracking throughout all of Hyrule and beat Dungeon 2 and Dungeon 3 in the Dark World. Well, after Dungeon 5, which is pretty cool in my opinion. We kind of trivialized them, which is just the reality of you getting this powerful as soon as you do, which I like doing. I like having some dungeons that I can just trivialize, because then it just makes you feel all like super powerful. Because believe me when I say, when we get to Ganon's Tower, there is pretty much no part of that dungeon that's going to be trivialized by my gear. Like that dungeon is difficult. Like, it is difficult. I mean, there's parts of it, yes. Cane of Burn is still as powerful as it's ever going to be. But it's awesome. It's fantastic. This game is amazing, and I highly recommend it. I want to thank you for joining me. If you like my content, please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, do all those wonderful things so we can build up a community of wholesome gamers loving wholesome games together. And I want to give you a good farewell and have a great and glorious day gaming. I'll see y'all next time.